Controversy is brewing following an exchange between New York City Health Commissioner Dr. Barbeau and Chief Terrence Monahan back in March over the need for 500,000 pieces of personal protective equipment for the members of the police department. So the New York Post reports Dr. Barbeau said, quote, "I don't give two rats expletive about your cops. I need them for others," end quote. The Department of Health later issuing a statement saying things are said out of frustration, but no harm was wished upon anybody. The commissioner then apologized. Joining us this morning is NYPD Commissioner Dermot Shea. So thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for joining us this morning. We do appreciate it. Let's begin with this topic. And what is your response to that exchange? And are the remarks accurate?
Well, I can't say that the remarks are accurate. I don't have any independent knowledge. Certainly what you see in those headlines is a little bit disturbing. I don't know the context of what was actually said. I mean, that's something that's obviously near and dear to our hearts, the personal protective equipment for our members. If that's accurate as said, we'll have separate side discussions on that regarding myself and the commissioner. But that's, the safety of our officers in this pandemic where we lost 41 members. And we're in a good position right now, but it wasn't always that way. And going back to that period where, quite frankly, we were, at times scrambling and worried about the supply and the health and reaching out to many people. We relied heavily on donors and other sources. So it is very concerning.
So do you feel the health department actually dragged their feet on getting you the PPE? Because I was reading reports that you received them from other agencies and, like you just said, donors. So do you feel they dragged their feet on getting you the proper equipment to keep your officers safe?
I can't say that. To be fair, I cannot say that. What I do know, Dan, I think you got to take the context as well, that in the beginning of this, what we know now is a little different than what we knew 2 months ago. And people are worried right now, but they were worried a lot more 2 months ago. And at that time where we're dealing with changing regulations, we're dealing with frontline workers such as the police and EMS. We're also dealing with hospitals and trying to get everyone these supplies. So again, I'll have separate offline conversations on this. Have
you had a conversation with Health Commissioner Barbeau since these reports came and surfaced?
Since this, no, I have not.
The SBA, the PBA, the DEA, local leaders, congressmen now, they're all chiming in about this. They're calling for Commissioner Barbeau to resign because of this, some going as far as saying that she should be fired because of those remarks. What are your thoughts? Should the health commissioner resign because of this? And you know the exchange because you've spoken to Chief Monahan about it.
So what I'll say is this is a headline in a paper. I think that, facts matter here, and that's nothing against any reports in papers. But let's find out first, or any rash decisions, what actually happened here in the middle of a pandemic. Certainly, as I said, I'll be clear. When you read that headline, that's very disturbing. But what was actually said, what was the context, what was the discussion between two people, both that are trying to do, the best in a bad situation. So I think it's a little preliminary.
I mean, the health department did come out and say there was a heated exchange between the two where things were said out of frustration. So they are admitting there was an exchange here. You're just saying you haven't figured out the exact context of that. Have you spoken to Chief Monahan?
I speak to Chief Monahan probably too much, Dave.
I know.
Too much. Terry and I know each other for many years. We speak. There isn't a day that we do not speak on a variety of topics. But listen, we'll get to the bottom of this. I think, you see this headline. It's obviously disturbing. Nothing is more important to us. Nothing is more important to myself, and I know I'll speak for Terry on this. Usually I'll let him speak for himself, but nothing is more important than the health of our workers. And we're going to do everything to fight for them and to continue to get them the supplies they need.
Understood. And not to belabor the point, but you're not going as far as the unions right now saying she should resign.
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from that.
Okay. I want to get to the other big topic right now that you've been defending your department against critics who accuse officers of racial bias. In fact, Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams calling now for a change really in police tactics. I want to listen to what he had to say and then get your reply.
We saw what happened in the past through the overuse of stop and frisk. The videos that we witnessed last week send a chilling reminder that if we do not handle this correctly, we can create long-standing, if not permanent, disruptions between the police and the communities that they sworn to serve and protect.
So you said yesterday, Commissioner, that social distancing stops that have gone viral were taken a bit out of context. And now there's a couple in particular that have certainly made headlines. I'm just curious on what exactly the context is that we may not be seeing.
Yeah, well, we probably have a couple minutes to talk here, Dan, and I could talk for an hour just on multiple things there. To the borough president's comments, I agree with everything he said. I've spoken to him many times. I spoke to him at the beginning of this outbreak. I think there is nothing that he just said that I would disagree with, really. In terms of the context of some of these videos, let me just say this. We are in unprecedented times in New York City right now regarding this health pandemic, and we have suffered tremendous losses as a city. We have the 1-2 punch coming of now the financial hit, and it's coming with devastating effects on New York City, New York State, the economy here, which really is, again, it's the center of the country, and it's going to have a ripple effect.
I understand that, but when
the
you look
last thing we need, though, Dan, is to have a third piece now coming. We've come so far in this city in policing, in relations, in building trust, and it is a marathon where you can lose it quickly and you gain it slowly at times. And we have been committed. We've made great strides in this city. The last thing we need on top of the pandemic, on top of the financial hits that are coming, is to now lose trust with the communities that we're trying so much to help.
Right.
And what I'm concerned about is quick videos that people will have a conversation about and throw up a quick press conference without having all the facts.
Well, but Commissioner, this is more
affect the public perception.
I understand, but this is more than quick videos, because when you look at the data that shows predominantly blacks and brown people are arrested for social distancing, but then we see photos of crowds gathered at Chelsea Piers, there seems to be a disparity here, right? Because optics are everything. So what are your thoughts when you see the numbers? It's more than just the quick videos.
Yeah, there is no doubt, and I said this very plainly yesterday, there is no doubt whatsoever that there is disparities in the numbers, in the summons numbers, in the arrest numbers. That exists across every class of arrests that we affect in New York City. And people know this. It's widely known. It's not right. We don't like it. There's a lot behind it, quite frankly. And it goes much beyond the New York City Police Department's policies and practices. This is deep-rooted in sometimes generations in socioeconomic factors. So we know this, but to say that because the NYPD's statistics in these particular summonses equates to racial bias or it equates to biased policing, that's where I think we need a deeper discussion. The same neighborhoods across this city, we have been out there in force, and not to issue summonses, to educate people and to ask people's compliance.
So what do you think the disparity was then? When you look at Chelsea, right, and you see people gathered, what was the disparity there? Because it didn't seem to be a huge number of summonses or arrests there. So what was the disparity?
Right. And Dan, there hasn't been a large number of summonses in other parts of the city either. 374 summonses, I think, was what we released. About half of them were in about 5 or 10 incidents where people are operating illegal clubs in basements with gambling and guns. I mean, we have to address those conditions, unfortunately. So whether it's the west side of Manhattan, or it's Williamsburg, or it's Mott Haven in the Bronx, our officers have been out there. They've been out there trying to get compliance by asking people to wear masks, to socially distance. It is extremely rare when a summons has been issued in New York City for these offenses.
Understood.
What you've seen, though, and we saw it yesterday in transit again, what you've seen, though, is other situations. Some of those videos are domestic violence arrests. And then people are screaming in the background, he has no mask. It's just not true.
And I do want to get
perception has an impact on the larger community.
We only have a few seconds left. I want to get your reaction to that video you may be just talking about in Brooklyn by the Atlantic Avenue subway station. The mayor commenting about that.
So sad.
Actually saying that it appears to show officers throw a woman to the ground. The mayor went on to talk about how there needs to be better enforcement here. So does there need to be a retraining? What was your thoughts on what played out yesterday in the subway? And does there need to be a retraining here?
I'll be honest, Ed, I just feel sad about that entire event for the cops' perspective and for the woman's perspective. The cops are at that train station, if you can believe it, on body camera. They are handing out masks to people. They approach the woman and ask her, who has a little child with her, which I feel terrible about, and ask her to please put your mask on. And that's how they said it. It's on body camera. They are immediately met with profanity-laced cursing, and where she makes a statement, "I'm going to cough on all of you." This is what was being addressed, and she was not issued a summons. She was not arrested. She was asked to leave the station because she's now being disorderly cursing. She's escorted out, and she sneaks back down another staircase, and they again approach her. And again, no summons, no arrest. The third time she's being escorted out, she tries to pull away, and when she's told she has to leave, now she strikes one of the officers, and she's placed under arrest. We spoke to her afterward, and this is, again, all on body camera that I personally viewed.
Will it be released?
And she was apologetic, and she said she was under a lot of stress with other issues in her life, and she was frustrated. But this is what we are all, as a city, dealing with. We got to come to grips with it.
Yep.
We got to see each other. We got to work closer with each other. I don't know. I wish I had magic training that could affect that, but that's the facts of that case.
Commissioner,
And I feel terrible about it.
I hope we get to see that body camera footage, and I do appreciate your time this morning. Thank you. I know it hasn't been easy right now, and my thoughts are with the 41 members and their families who lost their lives to this, and I am happy to see that the numbers of those who were diagnosed and positive are coming back to work. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for your time this morning, okay?
Thank you, Dan. Please stay safe, and thanks to the whole station
Of course.
for what you do.